Hello there, welcome to the PlugBox Podcast, where we discuss all things EV and renewables and generally have a damn good chinwag. Anyway, on with the show. Hello there.
Good evening, Peter. How are you today?
Splendid. Another week, another PlugBox Podcast.
Yeah. A new week. We had a small hiatus last week, I think.
We did. Did you go anywhere nice?
No. As you... We can't go anywhere at the moment. Still, we're fairly well locked down here in the UK. But nonetheless, we have a bit of news for everybody this week. We have a list.
You always have a list, Pete.
I do my best. We're going to have a small update of onto your experiences thus far and a small change that's coming up, I think.
Expensive change.
Sounds tempting. Anyway, we'll come on to that in a little bit. We're also going to cover a product that we discussed previously on the podcast. That is the Renault 5 EV. But I think we're going to start a little bit with MyEnergi, something else we've also discussed in previous podcasts. So everybody, I think, here in the UK who's interested in EVs and sustainable tech will know that MyEnergi are a British-based company specialising in hardware to optimise any sustainable energy produced from, be it wind power or solar, and they are expanding their headquarters. So I think they're from up to north,
Grimsby, Grimsby.
Sunny Grimsby. So they've recently moved to a new site, bespoke built, and they've already outgrown it. So they are expanding again to accommodate their, I think it's 200 plus people they're now employing. And yeah, good things coming out of them. I'm still waiting for their battery announcement, but the Zappy 2 strapped to the wall outside my house is going strong. It's a great product, so I'm looking forward for some more products from them. British built, British engineered, Pete.
Yeah, I think that's the really good point, right? Is not only is it developed here, it's built here. You know, they have almost production lines in the facility up in Grimsby, as we say, and yeah, they've just got some cool products, right? You know, they've got funky names, right? Zappy, Eddie, and what's the other one? Harvey,
yeah.
Which is kind of like the hub thing, right? But yeah, they're just, I don't know, just British innovation, right? To quote their fully charged live advert.
Yeah, I think it's great news, actually, specifically for the Northeast as well. It's good. What's next?
Yorkshire, not the Yorkshire Northeast, but anyway.
Sorry, I need to not offend you, don't I? By
yeah, it's my Yorkshire patriotism coming in.
It is. Anybody away from their home is more patriotic, Pete.
Absolutely.
Next up then, Renault 5. So we talked a little bit of, forget when, maybe in podcast number 3 or 4, one of the earlier ones, I think, that it, of course, is available on YouTube to listen again. But there's been an update to the announcement about the Renault 5 electric car. Renault are telling us that it could cost as little as 18,500 British pounds. You sceptical?
I mean, it's just not going to cost that much, is it? Like, let's be honest. Especially in 2 years' time.
Well,
3 years' time, even.
Let's see what it says here. Now, I'm quoting Luca De Meo. He has said the mission of the car is to democratize electric technology in Europe. And you do that when you're able to do a competitive electric car in the range of 20,000 euros to 30,000 euros, which is 18,000 pounds to 26,500 pounds. Let's see if he follows through on that one, because it's a great looking little product. I've always been a fan of the Renault 5 back from the olden days.
Yeah, it is a really great car. Like, slightly cynical at how much it's going to cost. You know, I mean, how much is it? And I know we'll talk about onto a bit later, but I don't know how much a box fresh Zoe is, but it's probably 8, 9, 10 grand more than that. So I don't know how they're going to chop 10 grand out of the cost, even if it is for a Billy Basic model. But I kind of think they're going for something similar to the Honda E. If I'm honest with you, it's more of an emotive purchase than it is maybe I don't know, decision-led one. But it's great looking, and it's a bit of a style icon, right? So maybe like the Fiat 500, then it'll capture people's imaginations, and hopefully it does well, because invariably it's got to be better for someone to be driving around in one of these than it has driving around in a Clio, for instance.
People are going to buy this because of the way it looks and the fact that they want one, not necessarily because it's got the performance or the capability. And as you say, the Honda E is as perfect an example as you can get for that. The battery is, I don't want to say woefully small, but very limited in its range. But the product is awesome.
Oh, do you think they'll make like a turbo variant?
Renault 5 Turbo. That car was so ludicrous it was dangerous, which of course made it immediately cool.
Yeah, but now Porsche have broken ground with calling their EV turbo. Maybe Renault can get away with it as well and have a bit of a punchy version.
Yeah, but of course there's the Alpine versions as well, isn't there?
Ah, yes, good pronunciation, Pete.
I'm no Frenchman, but I believe that's how it's pronounced.
But yeah, no, it'd be cool to see. And I'm not shocked with the reception that it's had. That they've confirmed that they're going to make it. So yeah, it's great.
Still to come, then we're going to talk about Onto and your new order. But I think we mentioned before that you want to mention again Plaid.
Oh yeah, I've still got a bit of a thing for the Taycan Cross Turismo, but yeah,
the better looking car.
Yeah, inside and out. But having said that, I think the Plaid's a big step on, and it's now getting into many journalists and most importantly customers' hands. And there's lots of comments and verbatums about how well it is screwed together, how good the interior quality, finish materials are, and that, certainly from my point of view now, I think the interior, save a few bits and bobs, it looks like the interior of a 100 grand car. It's still minimalist, but that just is what Tesla is, and that's kind of what you sign up for. But when you look at like the top roll on the dash, it's kind of like it's artificial leather, but it's got a nice soft touch material on it. It's stitched. When you look up close at the seats, they've now got nice stitching to them, and the perforated leather seat covers or artificial leather. But anyway, and it just seems a lot more premium on the inside now, because as much as
fitting for its price.
Yeah, I think so. It's never going to be as glitzy and whatnot as a Mercedes or a BMW, etc. But as I say, I think the interior now justifies its price tag. But yeah, as I say, it's getting in customers' hands. There's plenty of bit crappy, but nonetheless good content on the YouTubes of people nosing around and having a first drive and having a walkthrough of the car and whatnot. So there's plenty.
I think there is evidence of at least one that's been wrecked already, Pete.
Just one?
Just one, yeah. Which is not hardly surprising, given that the performance it has, and quite often people buy these cars thinking that the ability to drive them comes with it, but sadly that's not the case.
No, there's only so much traction control can do, right? And I know, unlike you, I'm still into some fossil supercars, and for years it's amazed me that all it takes is money, and that's the same thing as the Model S, but actually it's still a lot, but less money. You go in with a check for $140,000 and you can walk out with, what is it, 1,020 horsepower car. And, you could have just passed your driving test and you've got an Uber to the Tesla showroom, and 15 minutes later, you walk out with a 1,000+ horsepower car, and all it's taking is money, and no training, no orientation. It's just press the go pedal.
Here's the keys.
Mind the nearest lamppost. But I mean, we talked about in podcast past, right? There's supposed to be a Plaid Plus, and there's a bit of fury about how they pulled that because the Plaid was good enough. I kind of think that's because they want to leave some margin for the long-awaited Roadster. I
always thought the Plaid Plus was about the range, though, more than the performance.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think the Plaid still does the best part of 400 miles, which, again, we've talked about.
It's fine, yeah.
Many times is if you can do 300 miles real world, that's over 4 hours, constantly sat at 70 miles an hour, which even in the US you would struggle to do. And even if you could do it, I wager most people's bladder range is less than 4 hours. So it's more than enough at this point. But yeah, you're right. The Plaid Plus was supposed to be like the Lucid Air beta in terms of range, right? And I think maybe they've just seen that, one, they need to leave some room for Roadster in terms of performance, in terms of range. Where is the Lucid Air? It was supposed to be out now. It's been pushed to either late summer or the back end of the year for deliveries. So maybe not so much to worry about in the short term, and they can sandbag a bit of performance and a bit of range for the future, no doubt, as Tesla always look to optimize and improve during the life cycle.
Still not convinced about that yoke, though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of videos I've watched of people collecting cars have said, oh, yeah, it's great. The visibility is good. It's so cool. Like, how do they live without a yoke? And it feels a bit Tesla-arty. Like, they don't want to upset the techno king in saying that, why would you use a yoke? And then you've seen some journalists that I think, maybe for clickbait or because they want to be contentious, are saying it's the worst thing ever and it's rubbish and it's not usable. I think when you're using it most of the time, it'll be fine. This whole pretense of, but full self-driving's coming and you just need a clear view of the road. And I don't think that's a good argument to do it. I think Tesla have just done it again to be different. But if you're trying to do a 3-point turn in the road and you're trying to do a twirly with a yoke and you try and grab for a steering wheel that's not there, that's not particularly helpful. But I think for the most part, you'll get used to it. And for the most part, it'll be fine to use in most day-to-day driving situations.
I'm more than willing to be proven wrong.
Yeah, I think the problem is they've now got they've got rid of the stalks right off the steering column. So most things are either on the central display or are capacitive touch buttons on the yoke. So I think one of the problems is when you're trying to do the twirly in certain maneuvers, you tend to catch some of the buttons on the steering wheel because you've only got so much of the wheel to grab for. Do you know who I feel sorry for with the yoke, though?
What's that?
I feel sorry for the people that recline their chair really far back and grab the top of the rim because they want to look cool. I mean, what are those folks going to do?
I remember back in the day, I was, we're digressing a lot now, but back in the days of my university degree doing a level of ergonomics, there were, I think, 6 different names of the way in which people sit in the car. And one of them was like the roller coaster, so laid back and arm on the door, etc. I must dig it out and we can share it on the blog, on the website. See if I can find it. But yeah, you're right. People can't drive one hand on the wheel so easily now.
No, I don't know what the cool kids are going to do now, but anyway, as you say, we digress.
Yeah, a little. So what's going on with Onto then?
Ah, yes.
You can't tell me the love affair with the Zoe is over because I know that you secretly like that car.
I probably go a bit further. I secretly love that car. As we had a bit of pre-waffle before the show, and as you know, I do quite a lot of miles. Sat on the
Yeah.
motorway at national speed limit speeds, ish, and the long-term trip is showing 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which, I mean, it's not crazy efficient, but it's really good given the fact that I'm a well-fed chap traveling quite far and quite quickly. And it's a really impressive little car. I think the interior's great. I'm just not so keen on how it looks from the outside. So
it's a bijou car.
I don't think it suits my macho image. That's the problem, Pete.
Well, I don't know. I mean, other people need to have an opinion of that. I think you look really good in it, Pete.
Dear. So, so anyway, my on-tour journey progresses, and I've ordered a ID3 for delivery.
Ooh, step up.
Yeah.
Does that fit your macho image?
No. No, but I think it will look rather nice with the dairy alloy wheels and the moonstone grey paint, which moonstone grey is battleship grey, basically. So knockoff Nardo from
I was going to say Nardo grey.
Yeah, Nardo grey, yeah. Although we can't say it's Nardo grey for legal reasons, but knockoff Nardo. But no, it's a life model with the S battery, so it's like the mid-size battery. So in theory, it should do over 200 miles of range. It should charge at 100 kilowatts in theory at the right charging station.
CCS.
CCS.
Right, thinking.
Could be wrong, but I think AC charging goes up to 11 kilowatts. So that'd be nice. Local. I don't know. As I say, I could be wrong. And what else? I tell you what I'm looking forward to, actually. Not that it's kind of justifying the money, but wireless Apple CarPlay will be interesting.
You know what? For my own car, I've been looking at wireless devices. I mean, the car I drive does have CarPlay, but it's wired. And I kind of just want to be able to get in the car and connect to it without having to faff around with the wire. I'm a bit of a stickler for trailing wires around. I find them ugly and unpleasant.
Yeah, to go back to the Zoe for a minute, I always love an excuse to talk about the Zoe. The interior cabin is really well laid out and kind of where where a traditional handbrake would be. Obviously, it's got an electronic parking brake. There's a really big wireless charging pad, and I've got a big iPhone 12 with a big bulky case on it, and it fits no problem. And it would just be so great to be able to, every time I jump in the car, just plonk it down on the charging pad. Obviously, it's like rubberized, so my phone wouldn't slide off anywhere, and it just automatically connect to CarPlay wirelessly. As you say, rather than having a cheap £2 Amazon Lightning cable flapping about all over the shop when you go around a roundabout. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that in the ID3. But it'd be interesting to experience it. So it's a life model, so it's kind of the entry level ID3, if you like, apart from the Onto spec, presumably some fleet deal that Onto have got.
Some nice wheels.
Well, yeah, it's got some nice wheels. I think it's got the proper 9-inch or 10-inch nav in it, the middle battery and whatnot. So as much as it's kind of the entry level car, it's got some bits on it to make it livable.
I dabbled with the online configurator ID3. It's complex. I think it's the best way I can put it.
I was talking about the exact same thing to a friend the other day about it, who was asking me about it, because my long-awaited company car or company scheme car will be an ID3 as well, which is not coming till Christmas, but that's another story for another day. And yeah, when you look on the website, there's a myriad of options, and what makes it even more complex is if you're old like me and still look at a brochure, even in PDF format, there's 5 or 6 different grades, and for each of those, there's either 2 or 3 battery options, and then there's optional extras on top of that. And it's just like
charging options, heat pump options, and actually, of course, usual wheel options and trim levels as well. But you can order base spec one, but basically turn it into an almost top spec one. And I don't get that. It seems a bit overly complicated.
I had a Swiss through before I ordered the car through, or booked a car through Onto, and I did the same thing with you and the only thing that you don't seem to be able to spec on everything is the big Pro S battery. So is 82, 83 kilowatt hour battery, I think, which is 77 usable. But everything else, the panoramic roof or adaptive cruise control or the fancy matrix LED lights or the middle-sized battery alloys, blah, blah, blah. You can pretty much turn a Billy Basic Life into a Max or a Tech or, whatever, just by ticking enough boxes.
Sure.
But yeah, to pull it back to Onto then. So it was quite simple, I guess. So you can book everything kind of through their website, and I could have just done that. But again, maybe because I'm old, I decided to ring up and speak to a human. And you can just arrange it as a swap rather than having to order a new one and then cancel the old one. So within 5 minutes, we'd kind of agreed on a date and a spec for the new car, and kind of a bit of a morning or afternoon slot for it to be delivered. And some chap will...
That's to your front door.
Yeah, some chap or chapess will as you say, drive up to my front door with the ID3 and whisk away my Zoe into the sunset. But so it's quite straightforward. So that comes the 2nd of August. So I've only got about a month left with the Zoe now.
Well, it'd be heartbreaking to see you two separate.
I'll have to do a farewell photo just as it's going off into the horizon.
You will. So will the ID3 be new or new to you new?
Well,
not clear.
I don't know. When you look into the terms and conditions, they guarantee you, I think it's no more than, is it 2 years old? I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's either 2 years old or so many thousand miles on it, which presumably is to do with the fleet deal that they have with the different manufacturers. But given that the ID3's only just come onto the scheme and I can only book it on a certain date, I would imagine it's much the same as the Zoe that I've had, which is it came pretty much box fresh still with all the plastic wrapped on it.
Mm-hmm.
Although interestingly, actually, in other Onto news, not that this is an advert for Onto, although if they're happy to sponsor us, then great. They sent out a newsletter, was it last night or the night before, teasing 2 new cars, so a new Audi and new Volkswagen, which one can only presume is going to be the Q4 e-tron and the ID4.
So will you be getting one of those before you take delivery of your own company car?
I mean, they'll be too expensive, very, very bluntly speaking. I'm always amazed how competitive Onto's prices are, because when you look at the cost and you factor in insurance, the monthly prices are pretty much what you would pay for that level of car anyway. Like some people's noses get put out of joint when they're asking, I think, 12 or 1,300 for an e-tron a month. But when you factor in, you're not having to put 15, 20 grand deposit down, and you're not having to pay 1,000 or 2,000 a year for insurance, you're probably talking for an e-tron, £1,000 a month PCP or lease price anyway. But nonetheless, I think the ID3 is $559 a month, which is quite pricey. And because, as I've mentioned previously, I do many miles, I think I have to pay an extra £60 for 500 mile a month bolt-on on top of the standard 1,000 miles. So that takes the ID3 to £619, which hurts me to say it out loud. So given that, I think certainly the Q4 e-tron will be more pricey by probably quite a margin. ID4, maybe £100 a month more, which there's no value, there's just me. There's no value in me having an ID4, which has got the same underpinnings as the ID3 anyway. But it's interesting to see kind of Onto growing as a company. And I think one of the things I mentioned to you the other day is when you get an Onto car, it has a dash cam in it.
Yep.
And quite a bulky dash
you.
cam at that. Well, I think they're watching everyone else. And I don't think they do sound recording either, or that's what we're told. But it's quite interesting when I'm driving around. Every now and again, I'll see a Zoe or I'll see a Kona, and it's got this big, bulky dash cam in the window.
So you know that they're one of the Onto crowd.
Yeah, and you can kind of recognise it as an Onto car. So they are out there, and I think they are doing quite well. But it's interesting to see, or good to see, the increase in choice of cars that they've got, because it wasn't so long ago that I think, strangely enough, they had a few BYD cars for a while, and a Zoe and an Ioniq and a Leaf, and that was about it. Whereas now there's a plethora of cars, right from VW E-Up, which is very competitively priced, as I say, all the way up to either an e-tron or an I-Pace. So, good to see. But it's not an advert for Onto by any means.
No, but it's interesting, and if people are unsure about EVs, it's a good way to try them. Slightly longer term than just a test drive.
Yeah, I mean, I think same as me is, I think as much as they say you can, and in no way do they discourage you or say you can't or make it difficult. As much as they say you can swap a car every month and you can, I think the business model is based on someone gets a car and they keep it for a number of months. I think otherwise the admin and the operational expense of them moving cars around all the time wouldn't make it viable. But at least on paper, if you really wanted to, as you say, if you're in the market for a car, you could try an e-tron for a month and then try an I-Pace, or maybe try an ID3 in the future. But yeah, no, it's a great service, and it might look expensive on the face of it, but when you rationalise that there's no deposit to pay, it's just one monthly payment and everything's included.
No fuel.
Well, that's included, right? So you now get access to, what is it, InstaVolt, BP, Pulse, and Shell, or New Motion. So yeah, you're pretty well covered for everything apart from punctures, basically.
I just don't drive on a nail.
Well, I'll endeavour not to do that, Pete.
Good.
But yeah, that's my Onto journey so far. So maybe in podcast of the future, in August, I can touch on my swap and delivery experience and first impressions of the ID3 Life.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. I think that brings us to the end for this week, Pete.
I feel like I've waffled on for quite a while about Onto. I'll have to reach out about our sponsorship.
Yes. Yeah, you've given them a lot of airtime.
I think so.
All right. I think we can knock it on the head for this week then. Again, do remember to like, subscribe on YouTube. All previous podcasts are on there, and you can find us online at www.plugbox.co.uk. Anything else forgotten?
Expertly done, Pete.
Oh, thank you very much. All right, Pete. Cheers.